if the using support is still too difficult, it can be regressed to doing this on the floor. So this is just raising onto your tiptoes. This then makes it easier as you're not using your full body weight to go back down as well. So to progress on for this aimed exercise, we can also do it on a bench. So this is using your more of an eccentric loading. So this is where you're on the bench and you put your heels lower down. So as you can see in the image, you are really dropping your heels and then raising them higher as well. And to progress this to the end of phase 3 using free weights, you're then going to have free weights in your hand whilst doing this. So phase 4, this is where we move on to more plyometric and agility based exercises. So phase 4, so the aim is to hold a ball and be able to stand on these balance boards and be able to bounce the ball on the floor. To progress this exercise, to make it harder, we're going to use the ball and use one arm. So this is going to be really using one side of the body. So using the side of the arm of the body which you would be, which of the injured Achilles. To make this even harder, you use a tennis ball thrown at you, so you have to reach and really use the stability whilst on this wobble board to be able to catch the ball. So this is also using a psychological approach, but also meaning you are increasing stability on the joint. To regress this exercise, you'd use a larger ball, so this is less movement sideways and just really focusing on staying on and just working on the wobble board. Another exercise, so this is using the plyometrics. So the aim of the exercise is to carry out this kind of drill. Ankle to be able to really hold these jumps. If this is too easy, it can be moved on to be able to do squat jumps. So these can be done either moving or on the spot. And to make this even progressively harder is to use resistance bands on this as well. Too difficult, it can be shown here as the regressive exercise, just doing smaller jumps, really just to start working that surrounding muscles. To make it even easier, you can stand on one leg and squat. One-legged squat, it's in slow motion, just standing still. So that is gone through the different exercises that will be used. So this will help be able to go through the inflammation, repair and remodelling stage and to be able to reach our final goal of being able to get back into the top league games. So now we can move on to the second injury. So this is a dislocated shoulder, which has occurred by slipping during a wet training session and landing awkwardly, causing the shoulder to dislocate. So this is for a county level cricket player who is predominantly a bowler and been given a 4 to 6 month recovery period. So you can see here how the phases are the same, using the same type of training focus. You're really trying to, in this first phase, reduce the swelling, decrease pain and get back to being able to carry on this recovery rehab training program. Secondly, we're going to introduce light static stretches, range of movement, and go on to dynamic and ballistic stretching. Moving on to phase 3 with body weight, introducing body weight and weight training, resistance exercises, and then finally on to sport specific again, introducing lateral movements, change direction and sport specific. So you can see here again the stages of healing, so getting this inflammation before we can start the repair and then into the remodel. So the treatments for this injury will be different. So as you can see here, there's some different types of treatments, so acupuncture and deep tissue, opposed to some other treatments. You can see on the graph how the deep tissue really changes through what kind of time of the recovery this is. So you have these peaks and troughs going through every 3 to 4 weeks where you've got no deep tissue, to it being a high priority and a really needed treatment, compared to something like the soft tissue, which starts to increase closer to getting back to training and then starts to decrease again. The same kind of thing is happening with the taping. So due to the shoulder dislocation, you really need to have it taped, secure, stable to start with. So this is a high priority at the beginning. It then lowers in importance through the middle, just because of the fact that you are starting to gain stability, you shouldn't need the taping, and then going back to having the taping just before training, just to be able to make sure that once you're getting back into this training, you are still making sure you have this stability around the joint. Other things we can look at, treatments such as the acupuncture. So this is going alongside the deep tissue in peaks and troughs, but alternate. So every 3 weeks we're having deep tissue, but also every alternate 3 weeks, working in between, we're having acupuncture. So this gives a variety of different treatments which hopefully will work. They will work differently, so by having these, we'll be able to see which work better and then maybe preventing some from happening as often if they are unrequired. Thermotherapy and cryotherapy are both being used quite frequently at the beginning. These are high priority just to be able to reduce this inflammation, and these start to drop off during the end of the treatments. So then looking at the treatment overview, so during this inflammation phase, we are really using this sling and taping to hold and support the injury, keeping stability to remove pain from when moving. Hot and cold packs are used in order to reduce pain required through, so this is going to increase blood flow and then help to reduce swelling. As we're moving more into the repair phase, acupuncture is used around the swollen area and in order to reduce pain and swelling. This also releases tension in the surrounding muscles, so this really does help. So using dry needles release certain areas of pain using along the lines that they work on. We're moving into the remodeling phase, so deep tissue and soft tissue in surrounding muscles are really needed. This releases tension and increases ability to increase the range of movement. So the difference here is because this is a joint, so a dislocated shoulder, you cannot focus directly in the joint. You need to use these surrounding muscles to release this tension and be able to work back towards the strength we had before. So some of these goals, the overall long-term goal is to be able to get back playing top league games, playing to the previous standard. So this might be to be able to actually get into a full game and bowl a full spell during a 45 over game. So in order to do this, we look at medium-term and short-term goals. So for phase 1, a medium-term goal may be that you have rested the injury and are able to start the rehab program. And then to short term this, the inflammation and soreness has lessened and the injury is starting to become more bearable. Phase 2, this is the functional movement, range of movement and proprioception stage. So this is where you really want to have a range of movement and stability back to prior ability in order to be able to keep moving on with rehab. So the short-term goals for this is to improve range of movement and stability, to have stability back in the injured area and have this really starting to build up. Phase 3, we're going to go into including body weight and free weights to have strength around the injured area. So this is some short-term goals for this is to be able to use the athlete's own body weight to carry out exercises and to be able to start to train surrounding muscles on daily occasions. So moving into the sport specific, so this is to be able to work to the standard before, to be able to use lateral movements and have stability, and to be able to finally to be able to bowl to a full standard without loss of stability or pain. So all of these will work towards this long-term goal of getting back to a 45 over game. So I'm just going to show you some of the exercises we could use in order to get to this. So for a dislocated shoulder, phase 1 is still going to be left alone in order to reduce the inflammation. Phase 2, this will be functional movement, range of movement and proprioception. So this is working on stability, balance, dynamics and ballistic exercises. So some phase 2 rehab exercises using resistance bands and different exercises. So this can be just movement of your own arms or using resistance bands with these exercises to really increase strength. So here we have holding a the progression and regression of these exercises. So here is the aim of the exercise is to be able to lift your arms up and also forward, really extending and flexing these different areas. If this is too difficult, we can regress this, so just lifting the arms forward but not lifting quite as far. If this is still too challenging, it can be done but just not lifted to such a high level, so just into a horizontal position. If this is possible though, we can make it harder by carrying out exercises such as shown in this video. So just lifting, but this will only be a very light object. So this isn't lifting weights, this is just lifting something to be able to increase this stability. If this is still too easy, you can hold a resistance band in between your two hands as well, really to create this stability movement. Another phase 2 exercise will be using a ball as a pressure point, standing close to a wall and applying enough pressure and just moving around. This is releasing the tension in the muscles surrounding the injury. If this is too difficult, you can stand close to the wall and not apply as much pressure, so not leaning on the ball quite so hard. To make it easier still, you can use a tennis ball or a softer ball. If the aimed exercise is too easy, it can be progressed by applying more pressure, so you can stand further away from the wall and lean further into the exercise. Another way of making it harder will be using a smaller ball, such as a golf ball, or even harder is using a massage ball, such as shown at the end. This will really start to release the tension. The final phase 2 exercise will be where we are moving the arm. So shown here, we're using the resistance band whilst leaning on something to be able to move forward and backwards. This is another exercise that can be used in the same way. So rather than flexing and extending, you're abducting and adducting. These exercises can be altered by using different resistance bands shown on the right hand side with different colours. So starting with a beige, then going to yellow if it's still easier to make it harder, and then through to red, green, blue and black. These just make the exercises harder because they are a higher resistance. Phase 3. So this is going through strengthening, so body weight, free weights and loaded stretches, also using eccentric loading. So some of these exercises could be shown through here, so using free weights to do some of the exercises we've done prior, using body weight on a wobble board or even just on the floor, and also doing pull-ups. So this is using eccentric loading. So some of the exercises here, so you're using, the aim is to use the wobble board to do a press up. If this is found to be too difficult, you can do it just regularly on the floor. Still, if this is still too difficult, you can use your knees on the floor. This is really key as you're still putting the pressure on your shoulders and building up the strength around these muscles. If the aimed exercise is too easy, you can then put your feet on a bench. You're putting more weight through your shoulders and this will really work. To increase stability further and strength around the muscles, you have your feet on an exercise ball. This will really allow for you to be able to have this core stability as well. So all of these exercises can be done with a plank or a press up. So this gives you two exercises. For phase 4, the goal is sport and skill specific. So these are multi-directional, lateral speed and power plyometrics. So we have here some exercises using medicine balls, weights and quick fired exercises. So phase 4, you can use as shown here, where you're throwing the ball into the floor. This can be made harder, slamming it harder and using a heavier ball, and made easier by using a lighter ball and throwing gently.